Hey, Right Riders, Keith Wheeler here, back with another video for you. And today's video actually comes from a viewer comment. That's right. If you leave your comments on these videos, I read each and every one of them and typically respond, but your comment could actually turn into a future video, just like this one. So the comment that I got asked me, how long after I publish a book will I start making money? Now, in full disclosure, I can't give you an exact date or even tell you a length of time, but what I can do is show you how to calculate it yourself. And the best part is that by using this, you can not only see how long it'll take you before you make your first $100, but you can use the same process to figure out how to make your first $1,000, how to make your first 10,000. You get the idea. And the best part is it really comes down to four main things. One, what niche are you in? Number two, how many books do you have? Number three is what is your average royalty? And number four, what promotion, if any, are you doing for your books? So let's start with number one. Why is your niche important? Well, obviously each niche is different and the amount of demand and the amount of competition is going to change from niche to niche. So what you can do is go into Amazon in incognito mode, or you can use my resource of choice, which is Publisher Rocket. Look at the top 100 books. I usually look at the top 10 or 20 and see what the BSR is, or the bestseller rank. This tells you where they rank in the Amazon store. And what you can gather from that is how many books are actually being purchased. Then you can head on over to kwheelerbooks.com/calculate, which will bring you to the Kindlepreneur's book calculator, and you can put in what the BSR is. And by doing that, it'll tell you on average how many books you need to sell in order to get that particular BSR. So if you see that the top 10 or 20 books in your niche are all under 10,000, well, that tells you it's going to be a pretty big battle and uphill battle for you to really get your book seen, because you're gonna have to sell a ton of books in order to keep that type of BSR. But if you see with your niche that within the top 10 or 20, it's anywhere between 10,000 to 100,000, well, then that's something that you got a much better chance of actually participating in and getting some sales without having to spend a ton of money on promotion, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, the next question is, how many books do you have? And what I mean is mainly how many books do you have in that particular niche? You can do this niche by niche, but if you have more books in the same niche, it makes it easier for you to sell books, because once you get someone who buys one of your books in that niche, then your name's already out there and they're already familiar with you. So it's a lot easier, like for example, if you have a series. So the reason I say, how many books do you have, is because, well, obviously the more books you have, the better your chances of making money. You know, it's in general a numbers game, which leads me to my next question, which is, what is your average royalty? This is a super important question, because if you are putting your books down dirt cheap and you're only making 50 cents royalties on each copy, well, you're going to have to sell a heck of a lot more in order to reach your first $100. But that's how you calculate it. You figure out what your average royalty is for all your books. Then you take how much you want to make in a month, let's say $100, and you divide it by what your average royalty is. So if your average royalty is 50 cents and you're trying to make $100, well, then you're going to have to sell 200 books in a month just in order to make that first $100 a month. But conversely, if your average royalties are $2 per book, well, then you only have to sell 50 books in order to reach that same $100 threshold. And selling 50 books is going to be a lot easier than selling 200. And then now, of course, we're going to talk about book promotion. Let's be honest. The more chances you have of getting your book visible to people, then the better your chances of getting sales, which means in turn, you're probably going to have to run ads or some other kind of book promotion. One thing that's super important when you're running ads or any other kind of promotion is you want to make sure that you take into account how much you're spending on that and using that expenses against the royalties to figure out what your net profit is. Because if you're spending $500 on ads, that's great if you're making, thousands of dollars. But if you're spending $50 on ads, but you're only making $100, then you really didn't make that much money. You really didn't net $100. You netted $50. Let's head on over to Amazon, and I'm going to show you how to figure this out in action. Well, here we are on Amazon in incognito mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to search for the Kindle store. Now you could do this in books, but chances are you're going to get less physical book sales than you are ebooks, because ebooks are typically cheaper. And so we're going to go to Kindle store. So now we're going to go in and we're going to type in whatever your niche is. Let's say your niche is children's picture book and unicorns. Okay. So let's say that this is your particular niche. So this is going to show you, one, how competitive it is, which right here, only 1,000 competitors. That's not competitive at all. And then it's going to show you the different books that are in that niche. And we're just going to click on one, which this one is a sponsored one. So I don't want to click on these because I don't want to make anybody have to pay. Now, as you can see, we've talked about this in previous videos, but right here, you can see the actual BSR, bestseller rank. And I'm using a free Chrome extension called DS Amazon Quick View. Definitely want to check that out. And so that just allows me to, instead of having to click on each book, I can see right at a glance what the actual BSR or bestseller rank is. But I can also hover over the picture right here, the cover, and it'll show me the different categories it's in. So right now, I'm just going to go to pet books. Now we're looking at the top 100 paid books in this particular category. And as you can see, DS Amazon Quick View is showing me what the particular BSR or bestseller ranks are. So for the very first one, it's 13,000. Okay, 13,722. So if I head on over to kwheelerbooks.com/calculate, it's going to bring me to Kindlepreneur's BSR calculator. I go in here, I've got it set for Kindle books, and I just type in 13,722, and it tells me that the top book is selling 14 books per day. Now, what we want to do is we want to figure out how many books we need to sell to reach our goal. So if our goal is 100, so we're going to click on our calculator right here, and let's say that our average royalties are $2. So $100 divided by $2 means I have to sell 50 books. Now, if I want to make $100 in a month, that means I need to sell 50 books in a month. So that's a little less than 2 a day. This first shot, they're getting 14 sales on average a day. So this may be a great category for us to be in if it's relevant to our book. So let's look all the way down to the number 10. Okay, number 10 is 44,835. Click over here. That one's selling 6 per day. If we get in the top 100 for this particular category, well, I'll tell you right now, this number 30 is in the 138,000. So 138,856. That's less than a book a day. So if you're in this particular niche and you can get less than a book a day, so a book every other day, then you can definitely get within the top 30 in this category. All right. And remember, based on what we calculated is that we want 50 sales in a month. So the way to do it is to either buy one book or buy multiple books, getting your book in categories that are relevant to your book and that you can get seen, get visibility enough to start getting sales. So if I have one book that gets me one sale every other day in that category, well, that's not going to be the 50 books I need. That's only going to be 15. But if I have 4 books now, all getting that same, around that same BSR, that's getting me 60 sales a month, which is more than $100 per month in sales. And this is why book promotions is so important, because as you can see, like I said, within the first 20 are getting about 1 sale a day. So if you can do something like book promotions to get your book more visible, get it seen, get impressions, seen by more people, and therefore a better chance of getting purchased, well, then you can definitely rank higher up in your particular niche. Now, if your niche is super competitive, then you definitely need to do book promotions or have a lot of books in order to start really seeing significant amounts of sales. It really comes down to being in a good niche, having royalties and knowing what your royalties are and figuring out how many books you need to sell a month to reach that particular milestone, $100, $1,000, whatever you want it to be. And then after that, it really comes down to just putting some money into maybe book ads or whatever to get more visibility to better your chances of getting those sales. The higher you rank within a particular category, then the more organic sales you're going to get. So you may have to run ads to begin with, but that doesn't mean you have to run ads forever. Once you start getting your book they start getting reviews and getting more visibility and more sales, then it's going to creep up the bestseller rank. And once it does, then you can start dialing back on your ads and still see organic sales. Well, there you go. That is how you figure out how long it's going to take you to create your first $100, your first $1,000, your first $10,000, whatever your expectations are. You just have to figure out how to get yourself there, whether that means by creating more books, by doing more book promotion, or best chances are a combination of the two. Now, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It gives me that nice warm fuzzy feeling. And if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you get alerted every time I put out a video, just like this one. I mean, hey, it's free and all the cool kids are doing it. Anyway, let's not let the learning end here. I have two amazing videos that I've recently put out. This one right here, I cannot stress enough how many amazing comments I've gotten about that video. But if that's not up your alley, YouTube says this one right here, it's got your name written all over it. So either way, I'll catch you in one of these videos, and remember to write right.